Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So here is the 2016 election map. Donald Trump was able to hack the electoral map and win the presidency because unlike Republicans before him, going all the way back to the 1980s, he was able to win states in the Rust Belt. He flipped Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania Republican when nobody expected him to. He said he was going to do it. A lot of people doubted him, but he was proven correct. And even though a lot of people thought he would win Ohio and Iowa because those have been swing states in the past, Bush won them in 2004, Donald Trump didn't just win those states. He won them by close to 10. And this time around, they're very likely going to be cemented as safe red states where Democrats are going to have zero shot at winning them. So the electoral map is definitely narrowing this time around, and we want to analyze it because Donald Trump is likely going to get Georgia at this point. Things can change, but he's up by 7 in the polls. That means he can win the presidential election by just flipping Pennsylvania, or he could get Michigan and Nevada, or he could get Michigan and Wisconsin. So once again, the road to 270 is going to go through the Rust Belt regardless of whatever happens. And we want to analyze this. We did a video about the Sun Belt states, the South and the Southwest. Now we have to talk about the Rust Belt states in the Midwest. Is Donald Trump in good shape to replicate his 2016 performance in these states? Well, we're going to analyze it, but first I have to tell you guys about my very good friends over at Patriot Gold. The Fed took the punch bowl away from the party again. The stock market's been betting on March rate cuts, but not so fast. All three indexes got pummeled on the news that cuts were off the table. Is this why JP Morgan and UBS are calling for a 23% drop in the S&P? This is the longest time in history between recessions, and the recession indicator's ringing its most severe alarm in 40 years. To combat this, you either think Bidenomics is working or you're buying gold. Isn't it time you protected your retirement? Call the proud Americans of the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs top-rated gold IRA dealer 7 years in a row. Mention Red Eagle Politics and you'll always get best-in-class service from Patriots protecting patriots. They also have the no fee for life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver, and you may be eligible for it on qualifying rollovers. Call 888-857-8696 and get your free investor guide today, or visit the link in the description down below. So Donald Trump is the favorite. He's got a very easy path to the White House. He needs to get 19 more electoral votes than he's already allotted right here. He can get there with Pennsylvania, and I think we're going to analyze Pennsylvania first. 2016, Donald Trump came out of nowhere, won the state of Pennsylvania very narrowly in 2016, and you could look at the change from 2012 map. I mean, he was doing much, much better in a lot of these rural counties, but even in places like the white working class suburbs of Pittsburgh and even certain parts of the Philadelphia area, and especially northeastern Pennsylvania, he did a lot better than Mitt Romney. Romney lost the state by like 5 or 6. Donald Trump won the state outright. It was the white whale for Republicans, which now is probably either going to be considered Minnesota or maybe Nevada, but I think Nevada's going to flip. But still, Republicans try every time. They don't get it done. Donald Trump, with his messaging, which really resonates with a lot of these voters, these low propensity, white working class, blue collar Rust Belt voters, it worked wonders for him. He ended up winning the state. He beat Hillary Clinton in the state. A lot of people thought he wouldn't do it, but he did. Polls usually have underestimated Donald Trump in these 3 key states as well. But in 2020, Joe Biden, they called him Scranton Joe. And that has basically faded away. That is a facade. Regardless of how well Democrats did in the midterms, Democrats did well in the midterms in Pennsylvania in 2014 before Donald Trump ended up winning the state in 2016. And in 2018, Democrats did even better than they did in 2022 by far, and still the state in 2020 was competitive. Midterm results, not always that indicative. Pennsylvania's got a lot of ancestral Democrats. A lot of these low propensity Trump voters didn't even show up in 2022, which is a whole nother problem, but they likely will be back in 2024. But still, you look at the western part of the state, Donald Trump didn't really lose ground, but the eastern part of Pennsylvania, he did end up losing a lot of ground, but I think you're going to see a reversion. I think you're going to see a shift back across the board because Joe Biden is not popular. And while Biden likely will get some gains in the Philadelphia suburbs, it's not going to be enough. Trump could get Mastriano margins and only lose like 2% of ground in the entire state. That's not going to happen. And I'm just referring to the Collard County surrounding Philadelphia, but black turnout possibly dipping. That, margin of votes Biden's going to bank out of the gate in Philadelphia is likely going to shrink, possibly in Pittsburgh as well. And seeing that shift back a little bit is going to really benefit Donald Trump out quite a bit. So we want to look at the polls in Pennsylvania. Right now, it's neck and neck. Biden is technically ahead by 0.3, but part of that comes from one outlier Susquehanna poll. And we know how these things work. Usually the polls, especially the early polls in Pennsylvania, typically underestimate Republicans, but mainly Donald Trump. So you're looking at this, it's like, yeah, Donald Trump's got a clear shot at victory. It just depends on getting that turnout up. Republicans likely need to start using the early voting system as well to their advantage in order to increase their turnout. Democrats do it. It works for them. I don't like the whole mail-in system, but in order to get rid of it, you're going to need to use it to your advantage so you can win. But nevertheless, I do believe that Pennsylvania is a state that's going to be very competitive. I think Donald Trump has the edge just because Biden is likely going to struggle because he is very unpopular, whereas Donald Trump, he's going out there, he's polarizing, but still, he's got the record that he can contrast with Biden's and win over voters as a result. And there's that. But Pennsylvania is only one of these three states, but it's the most crucial one because if he gets Pennsylvania, he wins. If he gets Georgia, if he gets his 2020 states, he gets Pennsylvania, he crosses the finish line just by flipping two states. Nothing else matters in order for Trump to get into the White House. But still, if he can't get Pennsylvania, what about the state of Michigan? Michigan kind of came out of nowhere too in 2016 as well. Donald Trump won the state just narrowly, and the third-party vote share definitely helped him out quite a bit. Gary Johnson taking 3.6% of the vote. Pennsylvania, he took 2.4%. And you're kind of seeing this here as a recurring theme. When you have two candidates that are unpopular, overall, the third-party vote share increases, and usually it's helped Trump out, arguably, given the fact that he raised his percentage totals in 2020. Still wasn't enough in many places, but now it's likely going to be enough. He possibly gains and Biden loses at the same time. That's a good thing. But Michigan, it's a state that's very white working class heavy. You have a lot of smaller metro areas that move to the right in 2016. It's not always just rural versus suburban. The rurals move right by quite a bit, but also you had a lot of these smaller metro areas with a lot of votes that add up. In Macomb County in particular, Donald Trump is a unique point of strength in Macomb County. He won it by 11 in 2016. It rebounded a little bit in 2020. I think he's going to win it by double digits once again in 2024. He possibly could make gains in a place like Oakland County because these counties are not uniform. I mean, yeah, they have some more like left-leaning suburbs, but also you have some white working class heavy exurbs that likely could come back in the Republican direction and possibly will. And I think Michigan's a state Trump could win because it's a very economic-centric state. And Biden's struggling with black voters in Detroit, Muslim voters in Dearborn. That's not a recipe for success for Biden either. And you're seeing this reflected in the polling in the state of Michigan, where Donald Trump leads the polls by nearly 5 points. The polls had him losing Michigan by like close to like 6 in 2020, I believe, and in 2016, they had him down in Michigan by like 3 or 4 when he won the state. So they've underestimated him consistently, but still they have him up by 5. This is very good news for Donald Trump out of the state of Michigan. That is the second largest electoral prize in the Rust Belt. 15 electoral votes. He can win it. I believe if the election were held today, he would. And then you have the last state here, the state of Wisconsin, which is a very rural state. And the suburbs of Milwaukee are still very Republican. They are. Some people will say that the suburbs of Milwaukee are moving left off a cliff, and I think that might be the case in the smallest of the three suburban counties there in Ozaukee, but Washington's going to be stagnant. He might gain there. Republicans have a very, very high floor in Waukesha County. They'll improve in some of these like exurban counties as well. They'll run up the score in a lot of these rural counties that even moved right in 2020. They could gain in the BOW counties, which is Brown, Outagamie, or however you pronounce it, and Winnebago. In the Fox Cities area in Green Bay, there's room for growth all across the board in the state of Wisconsin for Republicans. I believe that Donald Trump is the favorite in Wisconsin, another state with bad polling misses. They've underestimated Trump by 7 points twice, but again, Donald Trump is leading Joe Biden in the state of Wisconsin by 0.6% overall. That is absolutely huge. And he's at 47%. It's not even like you have that many undecideds in this poll aggregate, and he still is in the lead. That is a very, very good sign. Just trends alone, the state's like 50-some% white working class. That's huge. You talk about Democrats. Yeah, they'll probably get their turnout in Madison. It's going to be a lot of votes there that'll net the Democrats' support, but is it going to be enough, in my opinion? I don't believe so. I think Trump could take the state by like 2 or 3 points, potentially. I think he could take Wisconsin, and I think he could take Michigan. I think he can take Pennsylvania. But if he gets Wisconsin, he's going to need one of these big states to get there as well, because Nevada's not going to be enough to get him across the finish line. But if he takes Wisconsin, he gets there with Arizona, he gets there with Michigan. If he gets Michigan, he can get there with just Nevada. If he gets Pennsylvania, he doesn't need anything else. But the Rust Belt states, they are looking very promising for Donald Trump once again. Donald Trump has not really lost popularity since 2020. And Joe Biden was somebody who had a 52% favorable rating on Election Day 2020. That has been shot down significantly. He's in the high 30s. He has a record that people despise. He talks about the economic recovery, makes him seem out of touch because these voters don't see it, but they remember Donald Trump and the successes of his administration, and I believe that they are going to come home. I think Trump is going to win probably at least 2 of these 3 Rust Belt states at the end of the day. We'll see which ones they are. I think he could get all 3, though. I think he'd be the favorite in all 3 if the election were held today, and he would go out there and win. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.